Here's chapter 3. He talks about judgment, and then he talks about their luxuries that they have. I love verse 16. Because the daughters of Zion are haughty, they walk with outstretched necks. Do you know, have you ever seen the pictures of the certain tribes in Africa where they put those rings and they keep adding them like that? That was fancy stuff in Israel too. They found in the archaeology that they would try and get this jewelry kind of to make a golden neck. I can't imagine how, it's kind of like being in a neck brace, you know, how uncomfortable that would be. But they were proud of it. They were haughty, they were proud, showing off all their stuff. They walked with, look at verse 16, mincing eyes, and made a jingling with their feet. So they put bells on their feet. Is God opposed to fashion and dressing nicely? No. But look how they did it. You're plundering the poor. They were living in opulence while the poor people were starving to death, and they didn't care. So that's what chapter 3 is about. It's not very positive. Now what Isaiah throws in chapter 4 is, remember I told you this? Now all of a sudden he shoots all the way past the tribulation to right there, to the millennium. I'll put a big M right there. How long is the millennium? Here's a quiz. Everyone, let's say it together. How many years is the millennium? 1,000 years. Is it 500 years? No. So if I wrote the millennium is 500 years, would that be true or false? False. Good. Now you just got one question right. All of you. So, I mean on the test, because that's one. That is a question I picked because I like that. Okay, here's what chapter 4 says. Zion, which is another way of saying Jerusalem, is going to be renewed. But look at the way God how he talks about this time. In that day, the branch of the Lord. Branch of the Lord. Once you start reading the Bible repetitively, like, remember I told you that I started reading it over and over once a month and marking everything, all of a sudden you start saying, I read that somewhere else. That's what happens with repetitive Bible reading. You start recognizing things are repeated. What you find is that Isaiah, Zechariah, and Isaiah keep talking about the branch of the Lord, the branch, my servant, the branch, a rod from Jesse, a branch. And all of a sudden you realize the branch, actually the word is netzer. Now you got, Abby, you know what that is. You know, Jesus was from Nazareth, netzer. The idea in an olive tree, you know, if this is the ground and this is the trunk and this is the olive tree, the way olive trees, one of the ways they propagate is out of the roots. Here are the roots. Out of the roots, a little shoot grows. And it'll grow, they just grow up like this. And those are olive branches, netzers. Well, that's what Isaiah 53 says. A root out of the dry ground is what Christ is called in Isaiah 53. A root out of the dry ground. Well, if you study this, you find that there are 4 Gospels, and there are 4 different ways Jesus is described. In Zechariah, he is the man who is the branch. Have you guys done I asked you that already. You haven't done the 4 Gospels. Or you have done the 4 Gospels. You haven't done the 4 Gospels yet. Here's a preview of the 4 Gospels. Matthew presents Jesus as King of the Jews. The whole book is built around that. Mark produces a treatise of Jesus as the perfect servant. The whole book shows Jesus serving. Luke, the doctor, the physician, what does he show Jesus as? What every Greek wanted. Because Matthew is for the Jews, and Mark is for the Romans, and Luke was for the Greeks. What did Greek people want? They wanted the perfect human. Perfect human body, perfect human mind, perfect human everything. So Luke shows Jesus as the perfect man. Zechariah talks about him as the branch who is a man. For Mark the servant, Zechariah says the branch is a servant. For Isaiah, the Jews wanted a king. He's the branch who is the stem of Jesse, which is code for David the king and all that. And then John shows Jesus as divine, God the Son. And that day, the branch will be beautiful and glorious, and all the earth. And so it talks about the God over all the earth. So chapter 4 is looking all the way down here to the M, to the millennium.